A good friend from California, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, representing California's 9th Congressional District, the great city of Oakland, California. Hey, Congresswoman, good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be with you, Bill.
Good to have you back here in town. I want to talk a little California before we get started on the fiscal cliff. So the big news in California, Jerry Brown's Proposition 30, which is kind of similar to what's been going on here in Washington, right? He couldn't get anything to the legislature, so he went to the people and got his budget plan passed.
Yes, and people in California really got it. They want their children's futures secured, and they're willing to pay a bit more to make sure that our kids have the quality public education that California prides itself on. And so it was an uphill battle, of course, but Governor Brown took the leadership to really push that Prop 30 forward, and so the people of California have spoken. Thank goodness, and I hope that members of Congress really understand that it is, Bill, very similar to what happened.
Yeah, it was a combination. He didn't use all the same rhetoric of President Obama, but a combination of spending cuts and tax increase and new revenue, right, which has got to be the solution.
Absolutely, and I think what we have to be careful of is that these cuts are proper cuts, that they don't create havoc in the lives of the most vulnerable and low-income individuals.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because do we know where these cuts would hit and who would be hardest hit by them?
Well, of course, if across-the-board cuts, if sequestration takes place, which, of course, I could not support, we're going to see this 8 to 10% cut across the board. So you're going to see children programs cut, you're going to see food stamp programs cut, you're going to see health care cut, you're going to see some terrible cuts take place that people really cannot tolerate. Of course, we need to, and I still say we need to make sure defense cuts are on the table, because we're looking at a defense budget that's full of waste, fraud, and abuse, and that's full of billions of dollars that are there for Cold War-era weapon systems, research that doesn't make any sense in this new world of asymmetrical warfare. And so we need to look at the wasteful programs at defense. But, a 10% cut, an 8% cut on defense versus an 8 to 10% cut against, for example, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, that's not equal. And so we cannot let that happen.
Well, it sounds like, we hear the phrase safety net. It sounds like there won't be any safety net if these cuts come into play.
Totally gutted. It'll be totally gutted. And, some call this the fiscal cliff, but it really is a human cliff. And let me tell you, at the end of December, unemployment insurance is going to end for so many people. And when you look at the long-term unemployed, over 40% throughout 2010 and 11, now we have for those who've been unemployed 27 weeks or longer. And so this is unprecedented, and we've got to make sure that we extend unemployment benefits so that people at least have a bridge over troubled waters until we turn the economy around fully and create jobs. So that's another really safety net program that's going to end if we don't do something.
Which, by the way, nobody but you is talking about. I mean, I haven't heard anybody else talk about the unemployment benefits as looming.
One of the things that really troubles me is that you never hear about the poor, low-income individuals, the working poor. And I was on the platform committee. I was very proud to be on the 15-person drafting committee of the platform for the party. And I made sure that we got in there. Not only do we want to fight for the middle class, but those aspiring for the middle class and striving for the middle class and low-income individuals. But, that's not a political constituency that, unfortunately, get factored in. And so they're ignored. And so some of us, as progressives, have to keep putting that on the table.
Absolutely.
Who's going to suffer the most.
Yeah, we got to put it on the table because, the Republicans, the only ones that they think are suffering are the top 2% or the top 1%, right, because their rates may go up. And I want to ask you about that, too. So the Senate has passed a bill that would extend the tax cuts, the Bush tax cuts, on all income under $250,000 a year. So, and that covers 98% of Americans, really, who don't make certainly any more than that, if anything close to that. And the House Republicans won't even bring it up before a vote, or would not before the election. Do you think that's going to change now, that they would at least let the tax cuts go through for 98% of Americans?
Well, let's hope so, because if they don't, I think it's very clear now who they represent, and that's the 1%.
Yeah.
And I would hope that people would raise Cain about that around the country, because it's really the Tea Party Republicans. I think there's some Republicans who would want to see this happen. They know that's only fair. But when you look at how the stronghold that the Tea Party Republicans have on the Republican caucus, it's a shame and disgrace. And so let's hope that 98% of Americans don't.
So what you're saying is, if it came to if Boehner and Cantor would let it come to the floor for a vote, do you think enough Republicans would vote for it that it would pass?
I'm not sure. Given the election, it didn't pass last year. I don't see a real shift in their. I mean, they came, first of all, Bill.
It'd be a tough vote, Congresswoman, for them to vote against 98% of Americans or 99%.
Well, they did it in the last 2 years. They came to Congress to dismantle government and to protect the 1%. And so they don't care about it being a tough vote, I don't think. I think they're very clear on who they represent. Now, let's hope that this election change some of the dynamics of the Tea Party. Mm-hmm. But I haven't heard any of the Tea Party Republicans, which there are quite a few, say that, yes, revenue should be on the table, yes, we care about the 98%, yes, we think that we should have tax fairness. I haven't heard them say that.
Now, there's a lot of talk, too, about closing loopholes, and one other program that people who care about the poor and the middle class are worried about is the mortgage deduction, mortgage interest deduction. Is that on the chopping block, do you believe? Or
you hear that. It surfaces periodically. I cannot imagine that anyone would vote for that, because that's really, in terms of middle-income individuals, that's probably their only major tax break.
Of course,
that they have, and that's the path to achieving the American dream is through home ownership, and part of that has to do with the tax benefit of that, because when we look at the equity in one's home now as a result of the Wall Street scams, people have lost tremendous equity in their homes, and their accumulation of wealth has been just eroded. And so what's left but the mortgage interest tax deduction? So it does surface. You hear it bubbling up, but let's hope that the Tea Party Republicans know that, once again, that would be a tremendous hit on middle-class individuals and those who are striving for the middle class.
Well, I'm glad there's somebody there, Congresswoman, fighting for the middle class and fighting for those that we never hear about, those striving for the middle class. You're on it, Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California. You can follow her at lee.house.gov. Thanks, Congresswoman. Good to talk to you.
Good talking with you.
All right, go get them. Go get them. They got a lot of work to do, and the Democrats are, I think, feeling that they won a big battle on November 6th, and now's the time to push their agenda. Nobody doing it better than Barbara Lee.
This is